Hey, Dustin Tibbitts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. How you doing today? Hey, what do you do if you're working with your advisor, you're doing some planning, hopefully with us, jazzwealth.com, and you find out that you have 100% chance of success? Like they're just like, you're killing it, right? Well, the first thing that I like to do is come over to the client's profile and go, okay, let's see what you guys are doing here, right? Did you put enough stuff in there? Because a lot of times you'll go, oh, when I retire, I'm just going to spend, in this case, $4,500 a month, and that's it. No. In this case, the client was Ed and Tina. We're really good about going, well, we got healthcare costs. We're going to move and go somewhere else. We know we need a new air conditioner, a roof before we sell the house. We'd like to go on vacation, apparently just Ed. We're going to get a car, pool liner, right? They put in these goals, things that are going to happen. You're going to get a new car every 5 years in retirement. You're going to have home repairs if you even have a condo or something, right? So we got to factor that stuff in. Nonetheless, we still come and find out they have 100% chance of success. What's the first thing that we like to do here when we find out that's the case, besides make sure they have the data correct? We like to take less risk. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do, that's the shop dog, by the way. So the first thing I like to do is go and see, are we taking too much risk, right? Is the reason that we're so successful because our accounts are just growing left and right, but we're getting into retirement, should we be taking that much risk? So I'm going to look over at their cash flows here real quick, and I see this is basically year by year. Their expenses, money coming in, money going out, what's the net result? And so we have a deficit, right, in most of these years. Now we have, this is an inheritance that they're planning for. There's that primary home relocation we talked about. They have their house paid off. So we have a surplus in these years. That's fine. But notice we have a little deficit going down here. Well, that's normal. You're retired, right? Less income. Right? We're still spending. So that deficit has to be made up by making withdrawals from your account. Well, if your account is invested to swing for the fences, maybe that's not a big deal. If you have a lot of money, you could probably get that just in interest, right? These guys are pretty well off. Okay, moving on. Look, as we get down to RMD age, we're not even going to talk about conversions here in this video today, but when we get down to this planned distribution, those are those RMDs that have to come out. Now for them, it's going to be when he turns 75, that's when it'll kick in. But now all of a sudden, wait a minute, we have more money than we need. And that's just going to pile up in a taxable account. At least that's how this is set up at the moment. So we know that we're essentially solving for just a handful of years, maybe a decade, where we run a deficit. So what if we took less risk, right? If I go and look at their investments right now, we're going to see where they stand versus where they could go. So right now, there's just something in there, a little cash or something that's not being accounted for, just 6.5%, not a big deal. But we have so much more exposure to stocks and not enough maybe to bonds or that bond equivalent if you're looking that way, that we could afford to take less risk because it's still successful, the plan, if we go with a moderate approach. And I already did this just to try to speed things up for the video. But if I go down here and I say, okay, well, look, I'm now going to say that we made that adjustment. So hypothetically, right? We make that adjustment. Where do they stand? They're still at 100%. They still have plenty of money left over. Now, this number is a little bit exaggerated because remember in the cash flows, that's why I showed you that cash flows were building up. We had a surplus. They weren't spending it, so the system just says, just put it here, right? It's just taxable money. So to be fair, they'll probably spend through some of that. So I don't look at that and go, they're rich. Oh my God. What we look at this and go is they can afford to take less risk. Would you not like to take less risk with everything that's going on right now, right? Or if you knew that you could do this, well, hey, let me slow things down. Let's just see if the markets get a little crazy. They're going to live through, how old are they? They are 61 and 50, good for him, 54. So they're going to live through many more chaotic wars and oil tantrums, tariff tantrums, whatever they call them. And so we can afford to take less risk. So the moral of the story wasn't to try to make this a long video is, if you find that you really put in a good effort into your profile, all the things that you're going to spend money on, and you're spending a reasonable amount of money that you're happy with and comfortable, well, number one, let's take less risk. Number two, if you're still working, are you better off investing or saving those dollars for something else? Should you even be investing anymore? If you're already going to make it in basically every Monte Carlo, now it's a Monte Carlo simulation, but every simulation that we can do, if you're already going to make it, less risk. And hey, bonus tip, can we use those dollars for something else? How much are they saving, by the way, before we go? If you're sticking around, you want to catch the rest of this video here, let's just see They're done. They're in this case, they're retired. So poor example. But if you're saving money towards a retirement account, I mean, if you're getting a match, of course, you want to keep doing that. But if you're saving too much to a TSP, a 401k or whatever, maybe it's time to dial that back and go, hey, I want to have a little fun. Maybe we save towards a vacation. Maybe we renovate that house a little sooner or something, because we know that last part of our life, retirement, the last thing we like to talk about, it's solved for, and we got to take less risk. That is all. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.